Hello, hope everyone's doing good today. We're going to be looking at another vacuum filler pen in the PENBBS 456. So last week I actually showed you guys the 3013 from Wingsung. Going to be looking at a slightly more upmarket version of that pen. I mean, it's not from the same company, but it's a definitely much more upscale feeling pen in the PENBBS 456, and this is actually the one in the, hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, the corduroy finish. So before we look at the pen, actually came in a box from PENBBS. Very nice finishing. It's just a plastic box that says PENBBS. And then opening up the box, which has a magnetic enclosure, you got the little sleeve where the pen actually was nestled in there. You got a little instruction on how to use a vacuum filler. Instructions are both in English as well as in Mandarin or Chinese. And then you get a foam bit, and then last but not least, you get a nice velvety bit for the pen, right? So that was what the pen came with. I'm gonna keep the box quickly, and let's take a look at the pen. So looking at again from the very top of the pen, you first things first. I mean, you know, the pen actually is definitely made of a higher quality. Hope it comes through on the camera, where this is actually acrylic. It's a plastic, obviously, but it's not like a molded plastic like this, right? So this one, you can feel the seams, and it just doesn't feel as good as a solid acrylic. So I mean, I think the way that they actually make these acrylic pens is they would actually take a solid piece of acrylic and kind of mold, I mean not mold, but they would actually cut out the shape of the pen from acrylic. And being from a solid piece, it has that solidity in the hand, right? So that's the main part. So looking at the pen very quickly, the top of the pen actually has nothing much, just a plain top, which I like. You can actually see the details of that swirling. I guess what they did was they actually swirled some paint within the acrylic to kind of get that nice swirl effect. You can see the nib inside the cap, right? You get the clip, which it's a sword style. It's a double sword essentially. It's a sword here and a sword here. Pretty nice clip, and it's very secure in my version. The clip is attached to I'm not sure whether it's the same piece. It's probably not the same piece as this little ring down here. So it's kind of having a little indent down here to kind of make sure that the clip is secure. So looking at the cap band, it says Shanghai, sorry, reading it wrong, PENBBS 456 Shanghai. And as you all know, I love it when they tell me what's the model of the pen that I have. And that cap band protects the cap from splitting down here, right? In terms of the weight of the cap, not too heavy actually. And then looking at the rest of the pen, you get the end of the pen, which has a slightly narrower portion down here. That's the part where you actually turn to activate the piston filling, not piston filling, sorry, the vacuum filling mechanism. And it screws in pretty smoothly. You get the little cap band down here, or this little metal trim ring down here. And then at the end of the pen, actually it's just smooth. And then down here you get the actual, you can't really see it very clearly, but basically that you have a rod down here You can't see it clearly because I have black ink inside here. So there's actually a rod that extends all the way, seals off the top of the pen down here. So it is a kind of a double reservoir design where if you want to write for longer writing periods, you probably want to kind of release a bit of ink to kind of make sure that the gap here is exposed if you want to write for longer periods. Then you get threads down here, which are metal threads, right? This actually is what gives the pen a little bit of heft in the hand. So it's metal threads on plastic. And then you have the section down here. So I've measured the pen using calipers. Section down here is roughly 10 millimeters at the middle. The section is slightly kind of hourglass shaped down here. The place where you would probably hold it is about 10 millimeters in girth. The whole length of the pen from tip of the nib all the way to the end is it's nearly exactly 13 centimeters. The section area is comfortable. However, I wish that they didn't do so much of the tapering and left it kind of flat. My ideal section girth is about 11 millimeters. And then looking at the nib, you get the two-tone nib. I believe you can spec out other types of finishes for the nib. I got the two-tone and it says PENBBS since, can't really make out the year, sorry. I think it says since 2003. And it says F for fine, and I believe it says China at the bottom. The bottom of the you can take a look at what the feet looks like. Nothing special there. So I'm going to be doing some writing. Again, as usual, I will raise the table or bring the table up. Going to be using Hurlitz's X-Book again. And just starting on the writing. So this is the PENBBS 456. And I'm not sure, 100% sure, but I think it's corduroy, which is actually the finish that I chose. And it's in a fine, and the ink that I'm using is actually from Noodler's, and it's the Bad Black Moccasin, which is a kind of a bulletproof ink in their bulletproof line of inks. So writing with the pen, and the nib is definitely not the wettest, right? It's okay. It lays down a pretty decent line, right? However, as you can probably tell from some parts of it, it is a relatively I wouldn't say it's dry, but it's slightly dry, right? So that's how I would describe it. The effect of the nib is probably what's the main characteristic of this particular pen. If you were to take a look very, very closely at the nib design, which is you would probably maybe able to make out on the camera that the nib is ever so slightly upturned, right? So design of the nib is, if you were to draw it, is like this, right? So basically that's the shape of the nib that they are giving you. It's not so pronounced like I'm drawing down here, but essentially you are actually writing lots of times with this area of the nib, right? When you're actually doing writing. Some people have actually called this like a fude nib. However, and that would actually mean that you can have a thicker line if you do this, compared to if you do this, which is probably true. You probably could write like this and get a kind of a thinner line compared to that. But unless you are like overrider and you write like this, I don't think most people will actually do that, right? For like most of the people who actually write with a normal writing angle, you would be writing at that point of the nib. And that's actually my gripe with this particular pen. Although it's smooth and you can actually write okay with this kind of nib, I still prefer a more traditional nib design when it's like that, with a dab of iridium, and then like that you're actually writing, and you have a choice of actually using what angle of that particular ball of iridium that you want to use to write. So that's the main thing about this pen, the fact that the nib shape is kind of not the usual nib shape that you will be used to. I did look at the order which I made from PENBBS official store from Etsy. There were no options to kind of select, although you could choose whether or not you wanted a fine nib or something like that from when you were making a purchase, or medium nib. The shape of the nib was not something which was described in great detail when actually buying this pen. So talking about the cost of the pen, this pen costs, I paid $39.99 if I'm not wrong, excluding shipping to Singapore. That makes it around the 50-something dollar mark in Singapore dollars. And since I have this pen down here, just want to do a very quick comparison of the Wingsung 3013 with the PENBBS 456. In some ways, the Wingsung has some advantages. I kind of prefer the more traditional looking shape of the pen. I don't really like this part of the pen where it kind of tapers down so severely at the end. So shape-wise, the Wingsung is also slightly longer, as you'll probably be able to tell from the camera. The other thing I kind of like more about the Wingsung is the section area is slightly over about 10.5 millimeters, and it comes with a very normal style nib, which is more like this, like this design of nib. The other thing about Wingsung is it comes out dry as well. It starts off dry, something like the 456. However, you can actually tune the nib, the feed unit to kind of make it write wetter, which I did. So essentially, and this is also loaded up with Nudeless ink, you can actually make this pen write pretty well. So, however, I guess the main point is this is actually a $5 pen or $3 pen. This is actually like a $40 pen, right? So concluding thoughts about the PENBBS 456. There's been a lot, the reason why I bought this is because there's been a lot of reviews, glowing reviews off the internet, fellow YouTubers who actually, said a lot of good things about this pen. I think generally the good reviews have come from the fact that the finish is very good, it's very attractive, it's built to a very high quality, right? Not many people actually mention the fact that the nib is of that shape, which I showed you guys earlier on. So I have mixed feelings about this pen, right? One thing that some of these pen reviewers actually did was that they have actually switched over, and this is a PENBBS as well. It's a 355. You are able to pull the nib unit out pretty easily from PENBBS pens, and as you can see, I have a Jowo number 6 in here. So I will be inclined to kind of try out this pen again with a Jowo nib and kind of get see whether or not I get a better writing feeling with that combination of nib and pen, right? But at that $40 US mark, you get a vacuum filler. You get and you know, if you want to get a vacuum filler at around that same price point, obviously you can get the Wing Sung at way cheaper. The next pen up would probably be TWSBI VAC, and that's a $100 pen, right? So value wise, and the TWSBI VAC is actually made of plastic, not acrylic like this. So value wise, I think this pen represents good value. As I mentioned many times, the finish is good. Probably the only consideration for me is the nib, which you can mitigate a little bit by being able to put a Jowo number 6 in there. And of course the feet being slightly dry, right, which also you can mitigate. So would I buy this pen again if I had a chance? To be honest, I probably wouldn't, right? I would, you know, probably try to kind of spend a little bit more for maybe the TWSBI VAC, right? That would be my feeling after I actually handled this pen. So, hope you enjoyed the video. It's a little bit of a rambling video, I know. And again, you know, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you totally disagree with my assessment of this pen? And you know, give me your comments, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.